Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, are they truly damaging further the British monarchy, and how, and more importantly, why? Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here in the heart of London. Hope you're keeping well, and thank you for joining me on your weekend today. Hope it's going well. It's always nice to have a bit of a relaxing time, isn't it? But of course it never stops in the world of the royals, and of course it never stops if you are, of course, a former royal in the shape of Meghan Markle. Now, in case of course you don't know, Meghan again has been accused of using her former royal title, one that she said to millions of viewers around the world via Oprah Winfrey that titles mean nothing to her. She wasn't bothered about that. Contradictory in itself. But what we have found out when Meghan's realizing that her celebrity power is plummeting by the day, she really does need that title. But who's forcing her to use it? Now here's where it gets interesting, because she's been making cold calls to political lobbying people, lobbyists, whatever you want to call them, over in the United Kingdom. Now, basically, a lot of people thought these were fake calls, as you can imagine. More importantly, of course, Meghan decided that she wanted to get her point across. We also saw those letters from the office of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. But over here, it hasn't gone down well, and I'll explain why. As we all know, Our Gracious Majesty the Queen is busy trying to recuperate out at Windsor Castle in time that she's fit and well enough to take the enduring stance of course, attending the Remembrance Sunday. Now, this is a very, very pivotal event for Our Gracious Majesty the Queen. It's one possibly where we see her at her most emotive. You know, she really does recall those very dark days of the Second World War and remembers all of those, not just in the Second, but the First World War too. It's a huge, huge event. And what people are telling me is that, they don't want Her Majesty distracted or stressed or worrying any further. But now there's a big political problem attached to this, because Meghan and Harry are indeed damaging the monarchy. They're using their titles for political lobbying. And here's the problem with that. As we all know, our gracious royal family do not get involved in politics. They may stray into the fray every now and again, but they wouldn't be as bold as to use their titles to try and sway an opinion or a poll. This is something that's possibly not been explained to the former cable TV actress. But, of course, over here, there are even now more demands for their titles to be stripped. Now, if they do lose their titles, it seemingly will be their own fault. And as ever, we have to say allegedly here on the show. If you had an ounce of sense or credibility, you'd realise that this, particularly Prince Harry, would not be the way to go about these particular activities. But of course, we're not dealing with the normal people. We're dealing now with two micro-celebrities who are desperate to stay in the limelight and remain relevant. Now, Meghan's team tell me that, of course, she's simply doing her bit to raise the profile of the causes that she truly believes in. Well, she could have done all of that from over here in the United Kingdom with the full power of the British monarchy behind her. Seemingly, though, she didn't want that, and she feels more important as a solo star. And it's interesting, isn't it, that they didn't do the phone calls jointly. After all, wouldn't Prince Harry truly have had more clout if he'd have started the phone call? But, of course, as we've seen recently, he's relegated to juggling outside a window and only called in when he's needed. No doubt for the baby feeds. Moving forward, it remains exactly to see what will happen next, but there are greater pressures on the British government to now relook about the removal of the former royals and, of course, their royal titles. More stress for Her Majesty the Queen, things she could do without, and more importantly, a lot of hassle for our British monarchy, who simply want people to focus on their very charitable good works, and more importantly, the things that they are doing over here, rather than two people who decided to exit when the going simply for them got too tough. Neil Sean in the heart of London.